Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to the Sherwood Methodist Church. Good to see each and every one of you here today, or those of you watching online. It's great to be in the house of the Lord today, and we are going to get going here in a little bit, but we're having some technical joy. I would turn your attention to the announcements. You can read those before you. Next Sunday, we're going to have a meeting for our Guatemala team for 2022 at 1 o'clock. We'll get you more details to follow. We're going to have a work day. Is that the
19th, Sunday the 19th.
Sunday the 19th. And would that be after church?
Yes. Yeah.
Don't we plan on having food?
Yeah, we've got some tree limbs that need to be trimmed, some yard work that is above our normal just mowing the lawn, and we wanted to spruce up the outdoors, and maybe we'll work inside, I don't know. But just anyone that is willing, bring your work gloves and join the fun.
Sarah, will we have food there?
Yes, we thought we'd bring some grills and maybe grill some burgers and dogs and just kind of bring a dish to pass. Sure.
So if you'll work for food, that'd be good to show up. So that's the 19th, right after church. All right. So much going on. I trust you can read the rest. We have contactless offering. If you have prayer requests, write those down and put it in the offering plate with your offering, or just if you want to throw those in the back in the offering plate. So we have a couple of cool reports today, and also I'm going to give you opportunity to talk, which is great. So I want you to as you're kind of listening to everything else going on and worshiping, right before my sermon, I'm going to give you the opportunity to share about how your work gives you an opportunity to serve others, to minister to others, and or share your faith. Maybe you've been able to pray with a client. Maybe you've been able to minister to a patient or a coworker. Maybe your work in some way, I trust, has allowed you to minister to others, and I think you'll be blessed and others will be blessed if you're willing to share. So just kind of tuck that away in your mind right now and kind of put it on the back burner, let it simmer, and then we'll want you to share at a later point in the service. A week ago, Saturday, we had a food distribution, and it's kind of part and parcel of ministry. You slug through days, and some days are, kind of mundane, and you don't really, you don't think anything's happening, you don't see anything happen, and then there's other days where, there's just a flood, and just all these awesome things happen. And so that's kind of how it was a week ago, Saturday, and Sarah Birch wanted to come and share about the food distribution a week ago.
Good morning. So as Pastor Darrell shared, we had just such an amazing time at our food distribution. It's always a time of great blessing, and whenever we leave, I always feel so blessed with the time that we were able to give and share God's love with others. But this was a very particular, I just left feeling very emotionally kind of overwhelmed. As you know, we had the big storms. Sherwood was hit very hard with those storms. And it was a consistent message that we were hearing from people as they were pulling up that they had lost their food because of the power outage. And so we saw people that we had never seen before. We've been doing this for quite a while now, and we had new people that we had never seen, and the message was we lost all of our food due to the power outage, and just such a happiness and an appreciation that we felt from those people that were pulling up, and it was awesome. I'd like to share about one particular woman. Her name is Ruth, and she lives here in town, and we saw her walking, and she was walking down the sidewalk, and she walked up to us, and she explained that she had lost all of her refrigerator food, all of her freezer food. It all went bad, and they were having some difficulty with finances. They have a pickup truck that is on E, and she couldn't even drive down to get her food. But she explained that she was her and her son were in pretty big need. And could we please, she wanted to just carry it back to her home. And we said, no, we're going to load you up the car and we're going to drive you back there. And she was so appreciative, and we told her, you know, if we have extra, we'll bring you some more food. And bless you, and she was just so appreciative. And so we took her home. We had some extra, and our group was able to gather some cash and a gas card. And Dennis and I were able to take that and deliver the more food and the things to her. And this woman, she just grabbed a hold of both Dennis and I and just sobbed, you know. And I can't tell you what an answer to prayer this was. This was just, it was just very, very powerful, amazing. She asked if she could come back and help us at the next distribution. We'd never seen her before, but it was just an awesome outreach that you all are able to have an impact, and God's love was able to shine, and it was just truly incredible. We had somebody come up that lives in a tent. She has or in her car if the weather's bad, but she runs an extension cord to her neighbor, and that's how she lives here in our community. A really cool thing was a car came up and they had 4 children in their car, and sometimes we get these elaborate cakes, and they're really, they're huge and decorated, and they're just really awesome. Anyhow, this car that had 4 children, one of us was putting this cake in the back end, and this boy turned around and his eyes got huge. He said, "Today's my birthday." He was just so excited. It was so cool. And so, you know, we had 100 boxes of food when this comes, and we were so busy at first. We were just so busy. We thought, oh, yay, we're going to get rid of all this food. It's going to get in the hands of people that need it. You know, there's such a big need. And it was real busy, and then it just died off. It was just nobody came. And I was frustrated. I don't know about the rest of the team, but I was frustrated. I'm like, God, I know there's such a need. Get this food to the people that need it, you know. And we have a situation where with Factorville Bible Church, we contact them if we have extras, and we had a lot of extra. I don't know, maybe like 40 boxes extra. That's the most we've ever had. And so we called them and said, we have a lot extra. Can you guys take it? And they said, bring it. So we loaded up 2 vehicles and we drove there. And by the time we got there, there were a handful of people there, and they were setting up tables, and they were getting ready to do an assembly line. And 3 people were on their phones, and they said, we got a lot of food here. Can you come? Can you help us get it delivered? By the time we left, there were people driving in the driveway, ready to get that food delivered. And I was like, okay, God, I get it. The need wasn't here, but it's there. And you did it. You got this food in the hands that need it. And so I just praise God so much, because it was just such a blessing. So, you know, I'm excited about this trip to Guatemala and mission work abroad. We have a huge mission work that we can be doing right here in our own community. There's a huge need. And so I just thank you for your continued prayers for our food distribution. This month actually, and the 25th is our next distribution. Dennis and I are going to be in UP at our Grand Marais Happy Place. So if you're able to help this month, see Dave and Deb Meyer, and I know they'll appreciate your help. So thank you so much, everybody.
And we get a grant through the South Michigan Food Bank for a lot of it, but we also have budgeted, because we can get meat for 17 cents a pound through the USDA, and that, I don't know, it's a pretty good deal, right? And we're in the process of acquiring a freezer, so if we have leftovers, we can put it in, or if we want to stock up on meat, we can do that inexpensively, and your giving is a big part of that. So as Sarah said, God bless you for that, and what an opportunity. So thank you for sharing, and Sarah, thank you for, and Dennis, thank you for being our point people, and for all those who served as well, and continue to serve. It's an awesome thing. Well, it's we're going to be talking about laboring for the Lord. It's Labor Day weekend, and our work has great worth. No matter what you do, even if you're retired, I know you work, and even if you maybe aren't employed, you still do things. You still have a ministry. You still have things that you do, and we want to do all of what we do to the best of our ability and to do it for God. And so we're going to sing because God works too, and He created everything, and then He rested. So there's sort of this cycle of life that we are also to do. And if you would jump into hymn number 3, Praise to the Lord Almighty, the King of creation. Where you've had some time to think about a work experience or event where you had the opportunity to serve someone, minister to them, pray with them, pray for them, or maybe share your faith with them, and just to kind of, get things rolling, to get things rolling. Because, I noticed that, in meetings or in open mic situations, everybody just kind of sits there and they want to say something, but they don't. But then one person comes up, and then there's like floodgates. So to open the floodgates, a couple of days ago, I asked Dennis to come and share, because I know that the work that he does in the prison, I know a lot of you have shared stories with me about how God has used your work to bless others, but Dennis has an important ministry in the prison, and some of the things that he's shared with me over the years are pretty moving as he works with the least of these in our society. So Dennis, would you come and share? And thank you for being willing to open the floodgate.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm actually going off road a little bit. I have 2 stories.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's a pre-story to the real story. About 35 years ago, I thought I was in love. And just before the girl went to college, she broke up with me. I was heartbroken. I mean, really heartbroken. And pretty hopeless. And in the depth where I was, my sister just sent me a card. Just a card. And in the card was Romans 8:28. All things work together for those who believe and trust in Him. That was a turning point. I realized that God had another plan. Didn't know what it was, but she wasn't the one. Well, a little while later, I found the one. And we're working on 34 years. So I understood being in a hole, being in the depth of depression, and feeling hopeless. And sometimes you go through something for a reason. And my reason was about a year ago. There's a prisoner who I knew quite well. He'd been doing really well and hit a really bad bump. He ended up in what we call segregation, which is isolation. And he was suicidal, and he wasn't eating or drinking. I found out about it, and I asked my supervisors if I could go see him. Because we had a relationship. You're really not supposed to have a relationship with prisoners. You're supposed to have the line, but we knew each other pretty well. So they said, well, if you can't do anything for him, we're going to have to forcefully put an IV in him because we're not going to let him starve and dehydrate. So I stopped in to see him. With this background, I understood what depression was. And we started talking, and I said, Roger's a big man. He's almost 400 pounds. I said, Roger, I'm not really concerned about you not eating. It's going to take 1.5 years for you to die of starvation. But I am concerned about you not drinking. And he said, it's not going to happen. He said, I don't want to live anymore. I just have given up. Well, I knew he had a couple daughters in their 20s, and one graduated from Notre Dame. I didn't hold that against him, but I started talking about the daughters. I said, is this the legacy that you want to leave? Is this how they want you to remember you? And prior to going in, I prayed to God. I said, just, God, give me whatever I have to say to give this man a little bit of hope. Well, when we were done with our conversation, God blessed that conversation. And he started eating, started drinking, ended up getting out of segregation, getting himself together again, and now he works for me. My point of the first story was any act of kindness. You don't know. No. For me, it was a card. For him, it was a staff that cared. And he actually, on Friday, said to me, he said, you know, that conversation saved my life. To me, it was just an act of kindness. To him, it was a life preserver when he needed it the most. And I think God gave me that opportunity and gave me my experience so that I could help him. So don't underestimate any little act of kindness that you've done, because you don't know what effect it had on somebody else. So thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. That was awesome. Anyone else?
Well, I got a text too from Daryl. He kind of didn't say to stand up, but he gave me the A, B, C, and D, and I had to put it all together. I got 2 stories too, just like Dennis. I'm going to give you the post story before the pre-story. The post story was, who went to Guatemala with us when we went? You know, one of the most powerful things I've ever seen is we're in the middle of nowhere with nothing around us but coffee beans, and we're building a house, and we're just act of kindness. We're helping these people out because they need to have a roof over their head. And so, Fred and Marilyn are giving me a head saying those. So, we're doing this, and all of a sudden the guy that we're doing it for decides he wants to give himself to the Lord, and the lady that prayed over it was the most powerful thing I've ever been a part of. She spoke Spanish or whatever it was, and we had no idea what she was saying, but we could feel it. So the act of kindness got this guy. He was a drunk, he did this, he did that, and all of a sudden he's got 15, 20 people at his house that he has no idea, and he does that. So the act of kindness, that's the first one. The second one, I'm going to go on the other side of it. Myself, I really wasn't into the church thing until I met a guy by the name of Dave Bolton, who was my father-in-law. Started out by praying at dinner. It started out by this, started out by that. All of a sudden, he got sick. And then it started out with us praying. It started out with everything else. So he got the ball rolling, and then most of you guys know who I'm going to say about the other guy. There's another guy by the name of Jimmy Elwell that really took me over the edge to help other people doing that. So my two things are the act of kindness to this guy in Guatemala who he knew, and then the act of kindness of Dave Bolton and Jim Elwell to get me to where my spiritual and my faith has started here and it's here. So I just wanted to share that I was on the other end of the praying for everything else. So, you know, just don't give up, because no matter how dumb stuff you do, there's always somebody there that's praying for you.
Well, as we enjoy our Labor Day weekend, we would do well to remember that the holiday celebrates ordinary, everyday work. And work is a good thing because it is a God thing. Actually, the Bible has a lot to say about the importance of work, the quality of our work, and for whom we work for ultimately. I came across a statistic this week that kind of saddened me. Would you be surprised to learn that half of all church-going working Americans see their work as important to God? Well, that means that half of us don't. But I'm here to tell you that God cares about your work, and your work matters. Your work is important. What you do matters, and how well you do it matters. Everything you do matters. Our work, our rest, our play, our family time, they're not separate areas, compartmentalized, blocked off. They're all integrated, and they all matter to God. But today we're going to look at the importance of the area of work in our life. When Paul wrote to the church at Colossae, he told them this in Colossians 3:23. Whatever work you do, do it with all your heart. Do it for the Lord and not for others. So we're to work as if we're working for the Lord. We have people that we have to answer to, people that we're accountable to, but ultimately we answer to God for our work, and it's His opinion that matters. So Labor Day is a national holiday set aside to celebrate the value and the dignity of work, and the Bible has a lot to say about work. Now, work is not a curse. Did you all know that? Work is not a curse. It's how we are designed. In the Garden of Eden, everything was perfect, right? And there was work. Listen to Genesis chapter 2, verse 15. The Lord God placed the man in the Garden of Eden to tend and to watch over it. Does that blow your hair back? Garden of Eden was perfect. There was still work to do. So work is not a curse, because everything was perfect there. So that tells us that work is part of God's plan for us. Now, the curse from the fall is an increase in the hardship we experience while we're working, but the work in and of itself is not a curse. But there are days when we think that it's a curse, right? We've had days, haven't we? And we think, if I had $1 million, I'd quit my job. Anybody ever think that, feel that? Yeah. You know, that's how our culture thinks. And that kind of thinking is, anti-biblical. And it's easy to get sucked into that way of thinking because it's the easy way. I had a conversation with a couple of high school seniors in the last couple of weeks. One shared that they were considering going into the military, and wanting to sort of encourage them, because anybody can go on any path. There's college, there's trade school, you can just get a job, you can go into the military. There's no right or wrong. It's where God's calling you to go. So I wanted to encourage them, and I said, well, serving in the military can be a great option. And if I would have joined out of high school, I'd already been retired for 15 years. So after 20 years, you'd be retired at the age of 38. So later I reflected on the conversation and kind of kicked myself because, there's nothing wrong with retiring at a young age, but I was sort of tacitly endorsing this sort of cultural idea that, it's good to not have anything to do. But that's not how God wired us. That's not our purpose. Before sin came into the world, the Garden of Eden was ideal. Nothing was corrupted. But after everything was corrupted, work was corrupted. Relationships were corrupted. And in this ideal situation, in the Garden of Eden, Adam didn't lay in his hammock and sip sweet tea all day. There was work to be done to tend and to watch over the garden. So that means that work is not negative. We were designed to work, to create, design, produce, tend, mend, bend, send, lend. Maintain, lead, calculate, inspire, collaborate. Labor, however, pain, toil, and hardship are all a result of the corruption of sin, because it corrupted work. So the curse is labor, not work. Sin twisted and distorted everything, including work, and we see the outcome in Genesis chapter 3. The ground is cursed because of you. All your life you will struggle to scratch a living from it. It will grow thorns and thistles for you. Can I get an amen from the farmers? Though you will eat of its rains, by the sweat of your brow will you have food to eat until you return to the ground from which you were made. For you were made from dust, and to dust you shall return. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. So, work is good. It's what we were designed to do, but after the fall, it's cursed. So there's hardship associated with it, which is why it gets a bad rap. But work is actually positive. It's God-given. And our work is a reflection of our God who works. Of our God who works. Now, God has been, is, and always will be active. Isn't that good news, that He's active? He's always working. He's always doing stuff on our. He doesn't sleep. He doesn't slumber. The psalmist says. We're created in the image of God. So we should always be active. When Jesus was harassed by the Jewish religious leaders for healing on the Sabbath, what did He say? He said, "My Father is always working, and so am I." That was His answer to the religious leaders for healing on the Sabbath. My Father is always working, and so am I. Our work is a reflection of our God. And in our work, others can see, well, should see, the goodness of God. In our honesty, in our faithfulness, and our promptness, and our professionalism, and in our integrity. They should see the excellence of God in our attention to detail. And it's not perfect. I didn't say perfect. But in our pursuit to do our best. They should see the beauty of God in our creativity because He is creative. All of our work is service to God. Martin Luther understood this, the father of the Reformation. The maid who sweeps her kitchen is doing the will of God as much as the monk who prays, not because she may be singing a Christian hymn as she sweeps, but because God loves clean floors. The Christian shoemaker does his Christian duty not by putting little crosses on his shoes, but by making good shoes because God is interested in good craftsmanship. I have many family members on both sides who work for Chevy, GM, AC Delco, Oldsmobile. Do you think that I wanted them to do their best when they're making cars for my family? Yeah. God cares about the quality of our work, and it's a reflection on our God who works and is concerned about quality. So is God concerned about the quality of work? Of course He is. Think about the hummingbird, only 3 to 5 inches big, whose wings flap anywhere between 12 beats per second and 80 beats per second, depending on the particular species of hummingbird. So it can fly and keep warm. So intricate is God's creation. The attention to detail is amazing. The creativity, superfluous, if that's a word. Think about the many parts of our eyes which allow us to see. It all has to work in concert. Think about the precise location of the sun in relativity to the earth. It is at just the right distance. It is just the right size. It is just hot enough, or we would all be shrimp on the Barbie. The moon is just the right size and just the right distance to cause the tides to function as they do. Hurricanes notwithstanding. Everything God created is good, without flaw, and He is all about the quality of His work, so we should be concerned about the quality of our work, doing our best. Work at school, doing projects, here at church and ministry. When we do our best, it's a reflection on our family, on our church, and our God. I remember getting in trouble. I don't remember what I did. It was something knuckleheaded. And I remember my dad wouldn't usually whip me. He would give me a talking to. And I would have rather maybe have spanking sometimes, because it was like 30, 40 minutes later, you know. You think I'm long-winded. Just kidding, I love you, Dad. And I remember he was clearly embarrassed by what I had done, because he said, "Don't you realize your last name is Dexter?" Anybody gotten that speech before? I was a reflection on him and his parenting. How we do and what we do is a reflection on our God. You might remember the story of Michelangelo. He was a famous sculptor, but he's more famous for his paintings, because the other artists who were sycophants to the Pope and wanting to get more commissions for themselves got the Pope to commission Michelangelo to do painting when he was a very gifted sculptor. And so he went to work. He painted the Sistine Chapel, one of the most amazing works of art the world has ever known. And the Sistine Chapel is in some out-of-the-way area of the Vatican, kind of off the beaten path. And when somebody asked him why he was putting so much detail into this painting that nobody would ever see because it was so out of the way, he said, "Because God will see." Good work is a reflection of the God that we serve. There are also benefits to good work. Work benefits us and it blesses others. Ephesians 4:28. Use your hands for good hard work, and then give generously to others in need. So when we work, it gives us an opportunity to bless others, just like our food distribution. When we work hard, it allows us to bless others. Benefits us, our family, and our neighbors. So Paul is saying that a natural byproduct of our work is to bless others. And there's something powerful about tackling a project together, isn't there? Accomplishing something together as a team. I like how Sarah used our team. I don't know about everybody else on our team, but I was blessed on that Saturday. When you're a team, you can accomplish more together. And there's something powerful about working together for a common goal. We can only enjoy the benefits of working when we work. And it doesn't matter what you do, as long as you do your best and you do it for the glory of God. I've been a lawnmower, babysitter, busboy, dishwasher, lens grinder for a optician, factory worker, movie theater usher, third shift grocery stocker one night, hay baler, valet, security guard, summer recreation worker for children, damaged freight inspector, library circulation desk supervisor, substitute teacher, youth pastor, coach, and pastor. I have not been perfect in any of these jobs, but I've tried to do my dead level best. And in every job I did, no matter how great or small in the world's eyes, there were benefits to the work. I learned about life. I learned about myself. I learned about others. I learned about God. I learned how to do my best, even when you don't fully enjoy what you're doing, or if your work is not appreciated by those for whom you are doing it, or if you don't make much money. All work matters, and it matters how well we do our work. So there are benefits to good work. Work benefits us and it blesses others, but in order to always do our best to work, we must also rest. We're not so good at resting. Now, does it seem like I'm speaking out of both sides of the mouth? You got to work, you got to rest. No, it's the rhythm of life. You work and you rest, and both are necessary. Rest is important. Rest is necessary. Like work, rest is a reflection on our God. After God worked in creating the world, what did he do? He rested. God doesn't get tired, so why did he rest? Great question. Glad you asked. I don't know. Perhaps like an artiste, his rest was sitting back and enjoying his painting after he has finished his creation. But God's rest is a model for us. Exodus chapter 20, verse 11, this command, "For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens, the earth, the sea, and everything in them, but on the seventh day he rested. That is why the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and set it apart as holy." And so we are to enjoy and respect the Sabbath as well. God set apart the seventh day for Israel as a day of rest. Rest is not a punishment. Rest is for our good. Everyone and every animal, if you think about it, needs rest. When we take time to rest, we can reflect on God's goodness. When we take time to rest, when we slow down, we refocus that life is not about the accumulation of things. It is about seeking first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto us. You might say, well, that commandment to observe the Sabbath, that was the law of Moses. Guilty. And I would say you're right. We follow Jesus, not necessarily the law of Moses, but he principled the Sabbath as something that we all need. We cannot run on all cylinders all the time, wide open, or it won't be good for us physically, emotionally, or spiritually. We must have times of rest built into our schedule, or we will not make it happen. You got to be intentional about it. We need rest more now than ever. Compared to European countries, American manufacturing employees work 320 more hours every year. 320 more hours every year. If every worker worked a half a day, we would still be as productive as a full day in 1948. But we don't, do we? We work more than we ever have. We make more than we ever have. And our standard of living has increased more than it ever has, but not without a price. We sleep less. We have more stress. There's more child neglect. And we are so rushed, hurried, and harried. As good and as necessary as work is, we need times of rest from work. Now, being idle, I'm not talking about being idle. Being idle is bad, but rest is good. So we need to make sure that we're taking time to rest so we can revitalize, reconnect, and reflect. And I'm going to tell you, if you try to rest, if you're not accustomed to rest, if you're not accustomed to resting your soul and quieting your mind, you're immediately going to, once you decompress and you put it into neutral, you're going to immediately start to think of all the things that you should be getting things done if you were not resting. Am I right? You got to push that to the side. The more hurried and harried our lives are, the more obvious it is that we need times of rest and renewal. Mother Teresa hit the nail on the head when she said, to keep a lamp burning, we have to keep putting oil in it. It's how we're designed. We work, we rest. It's the rhythm of life. And when we don't follow our design, we break physically or mentally. We burn out. Because to keep a lamp burning, we have to keep putting oil in it, and that's the importance of rest. That's why we need a Sabbath. We need rest to recharge our batteries, renew our souls, refocus our priorities, and remember the goodness and the greatness of God. So what you do matters, no matter what you do. The Bible is full of stories of the little guy making a big difference. The humble shepherd Moses did not like public speaking, but he led the people out of Israel. David stepped up and Goliath went down. Gideon cowered before he led the army to victory. Jesus celebrated the widow's mite. Fat cats were dropping in their big offerings, and along came a widow who dropped in 2 pennies into the plate. And Jesus said, "This woman has given more than all the others." The man who was carrying water into the city led the disciples to the upper room. Jesus told them, "You'll find a man carrying a jar of water in the city. Follow him." A man would not have carried water in any circumstance, because that was for Sorry, it was women's work at that time. But that guy did it. He humbled himself. And the disciples found him doing exactly what Jesus said he would be doing because he was faithful in a small, menial task, but a little job had big input. And they celebrated the Last Supper together. A little boy brought his lunch, 5 loaves, 2 fish. Doesn't seem like much. Who's that going to feed? But in the hands of Jesus, what seemed small in the eyes of the disciples fed more than 5,000. And when it was all over and everybody was fed, there were how many baskets left? 12. 12 baskets of leftovers. A basket for each disciple. The same disciples who had been serving tirelessly, giving food to everybody there. So each of us has a part to play. There are no little jobs. As we've learned recently, all workers are essential workers. And if you don't know by now, spend 20 or more minutes in a fast food drive-thru. Or maybe it will even shut down because they don't have enough workers. Or maybe you'll find that your favorite kind of peanut butter is not on the shelf. Jif Natural Creamy. So maybe we have more appreciation for those who serve, work, produce, stock, dig, assemble, in the light of their absence. Every job is important. And in the hands of Jesus, the ordinary becomes an extraordinary job. When you think about what you're doing as ordinary, there's nothing ordinary when we put our job in the hands of the masters. And when we work and when we do our best, and we do it for Jesus and not others, there's a worth to our work, and it benefits us, and it blesses others. We're going to close with an inspiring hymn that talks about the work and the worth of work. Number 449, will you please stand? Take my life and let it be. And I like the second verse. Take my hands and let them move at the impulse of thy love. Take my feet and let them be swift and beautiful for thee. Swift and beautiful for thee. It talks about every aspect of our life and doing it as if it is for the Lord. Number 449, take my life and let it be.